Lions with eagle wings and talking serpents once populated the ancient world. These hybrid creatures were far more than fantasy. They were complex symbols crafted by entire civilizations. By the end of our journey, you will understand the secret language of these beings and how their power still shapes our stories today. Why did cultures separated by oceans dream of the same impossible animals? And what hidden fears did a creature with a crocodile head and a hippo body truly represent? What does the first hybrid creature that comes to your mind say about the stories we still tell? Carved from the living rock of the Giza Plateau, the Sphinx's silent gaze has endured for millennia. Its lion body speaks of raw, untamed power, the kind that rules the physical world, while its human head embodies the intellect and spirit that seek to understand it. This was no mere statue. It was a deliberate statement of royal and divine power, positioned as an eternal guardian for the pharaoh's eternal resting place. The message was clear: the pharaoh, like the Sphinx, was the ultimate fusion of earthly strength and heavenly wisdom, a living god whose authority was as unshakable as the stone from which his likeness was carved. This duality of mind and muscle was a core ideal, the very foundation upon which a stable civilization was believed to rest. So what does it mean that a culture chose such a being as its eternal sentinel? It reveals a profound aspiration to master both the world and the self, to harness animal instinct with human reason. The Greeks later reinterpreted this guardian, placing a female Sphinx at the entrance to Thebes. She presented a riddle that was a matter of life and death, a challenge that framed knowledge itself as a treacherous path. To answer her correctly was to prove one's enlightenment, to move from ignorance to understanding. Both versions, Egyptian and Greek, point to a universal truth. These hybrids were maps of the human condition. They asked the ancient world, and they ask us, how do we balance the primal forces within us with the soaring potential of our minds? This very question takes flight in the myths of Mesopotamia, where hybrids were not just guardians of places, but of the heavens themselves. Standing before the gates of an Assyrian palace, you would have faced a being of impossible scale and profound serenity. With the powerful body of a bull, the broad wings of an eagle, and the thoughtful, bearded face of a king, the Lamassu was a masterpiece of symbolic engineering. This was not a creature of chaos but a guardian of divine order, carved from a single block of stone to project an aura of unshakable authority and protection. Its very form was a prayer in solid rock, a declaration that the city and its ruler enjoyed the favor of the heavens. The bull embodied untamed earthly strength, the eagle represented soaring intelligence and connection to the gods, and the human head signified the wisdom to rule justly. This combination created a being that was both approachably familiar in its human aspect and awesomely divine in its totality. These sentinels were inscribed with cuneiform prayers, transforming them from mere monuments into active participants in the spiritual life of the kingdom, constantly working to repel malevolent forces and ensure prosperity. One of their most ingenious features was the artistic solution to the problem of perspective. A Lamassu was carved with 5 legs, creating a perfect illusion. From the front, it appeared firmly standing at attention, a steadfast protector. From the side, it was captured in a powerful stride, forever marching in vigilant watch over the realm. This clever design meant that no matter your viewpoint, the Lamassu was always present, always moving, and always watching. It was the embodiment of omnipresence, a constant reminder of a power that saw all and protected all. The Lamassu's serene power demonstrates how a hybrid creature could perfectly encapsulate a civilization's highest ideals, merging the protective, the orderly, and the divine into a single, unifying symbol. Yet not all hybrids were designed for such benevolent guardianship. This concept of combined animal forces takes a terrifying and chaotic turn with the birth of the Greek chimera. A lion's roar, a goat's piercing cry, and the lethal hiss of a serpent, all twisted into a single, fire-breathing form. The chimera was a grotesque fusion, a living violation of the natural order. More than just a monster to be slain, it was a walking allegory for the terrifying and unpredictable wrath of the earth. Its lion's head represented predatory savagery. The goat's body, clinging impossibly to its back, signified a stubborn, tenacious life force in the most hostile conditions, while the serpent tail delivered a venomous, treacherous strike. This was not a creature of balanced duality like the Sphinx or Lamassu, but a being of pure, chaotic amalgamation. Its very existence was a symbol of a world gone wrong, where elements that should remain separate violently collided. For the people of the ancient Mediterranean, the chimera gave a tangible shape to their most profound fears: wildfires that consumed entire landscapes, volcanic eruptions that choked the sky, and landslides that buried homes without warning. It was the embodiment of nature's most destructive and untamable moods. The hero Bellerophon's legendary victory, riding the winged Pegasus to defeat this beast, was therefore more than a simple adventure. It was a powerful cultural narrative about imposing human order onto primal chaos, about using courage and ingenuity to confront the seemingly unconquerable disasters that threatened their world. Why invent a creature that is a walking catastrophe? The answer lies in the human need to name and personify the forces we cannot control. By giving the formless terror of a wildfire a lion's face and a serpent's tail, it became something that could, in story at least, be faced and overcome. This concept of harnessing opposing forces, however, was not always framed as a violent struggle. Far from the chaotic fires of Greece, a very different philosophy was taking shape, one that sought not to conquer nature but to find profound harmony within it. Its very form was a quiet argument against chaos. While the chimera was a storm of conflicting parts, the Killin was a symphony. This magnificent being moved through the world with such profound gentleness that it was said to walk without ever crushing a blade of grass. Imagine a creature with the graceful body of a deer, the kind eyes of an ox, the flowing mane of a horse, and the shimmering, scaled elegance of a dragon, often crowned with a single, untipped horn. This was no beast of burden or monster of war. It was a living omen of supreme benevolence. Its appearance was a moment of cosmic alignment, signaling the birth of a great sage, the beginning of a just ruler's reign, or the peaceful passing of a wise leader. The Killin did not announce itself with a roar, but with a serene presence that spoke of prosperity, wisdom, and the innate goodness that flows from virtuous leadership. Its composite nature was not a source of terror, but a perfect harmony of the finest natural virtues. The deer brought serenity, the ox represented patient diligence, the horse embodied noble strength, and the dragon connected it all to celestial power and good fortune. So what does the creation of a purely benevolent hybrid reveal about a society's deepest values? It tells us that for this civilization, the ultimate power was not dominance, but harmony. The highest achievement was not conquering the world, but living in such virtuous balance with it that even the most mythical of creatures would appear to offer its blessing. The Killin was a mirror held up to the empire, reflecting its ideal self, a realm so peaceful and well-ordered that its mythology produced a guardian of pure grace. This concept of a benevolent horned hybrid, a force for good that walks softly upon the earth, finds a fascinating parallel if we journey from the tranquil gardens of the East to the mystical forests of ancient Persia. High atop the mythical Mount Alborz, a being of immense age and compassion cast its vast shadow over the land. The Simurgh was a breathtaking fusion, its form weaving together the splendor of a peacock, the loyal vigilance of a canine, and the regal strength of a lion. This was no predator but a protector, a sage whose feathers held the power to cleanse and cure. In the great Persian epic, the Shahnameh, the Simurgh emerges as a guide, rescuing the infant hero Zal and raising him in her celestial nest. She became his foster mother and greatest teacher, imparting wisdom accumulated over ages, for she was ancient enough to have witnessed the world's destruction and rebirth 3 times over. This immense lifespan transformed her into a living library of cosmic cycles, a keeper of secrets that bridge the earthly and the divine. How does a creature become the vessel for an entire culture's hope and knowledge? The Simurgh answers this by embodying the belief that true power is coupled with profound benevolence. Her nest was not a fortress, but a sanctuary of healing and learning. Her ultimate act of guidance was not to fight a hero's battles for him, but to give him a single golden feather, a tangible piece of her wisdom that he could burn in moments of dire need to summon her aid. This act frames knowledge itself as the ultimate tool and protection. The Simurgh represents a spiritual alchemy, where the combined virtues of its animal parts create a being of pure, healing grace. Yet this ancient belief in a creature that judges the soul's fate presents a stark and sobering contrast. For a civilization that looked to the Simurgh for hope, another crafted a hybrid to embody their most profound fears of divine judgment. In the silent judgment hall of the Egyptian afterlife, a final verdict awaited. Ammit, the eater of the dead, was not a guardian or a guide, but a divine executioner. Her form was a horrifying distillation of the Nile's most feared predators, a creature pieced together from pure dread. The head of a crocodile, the torso of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus created a being whose sole purpose was to consume the unworthy. This was not a monster of chaos, but a precise instrument of cosmic order. After a soul's heart was weighed against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth, those found heavy with sin faced Ammit. She delivered a second, final death, an utter annihilation of the spirit. Her hybrid nature was a deliberate and brilliant piece of symbolic engineering. Why use the parts of a crocodile, a lion, and a hippo? These were not just dangerous animals, they were powerful forces of nature that Egyptians encountered and respected along their life-giving river. The crocodile represented stealth and a deadly ambush from the water. The lion embodied raw predatory power on land, and the hippopotamus, despite its seemingly docile appearance, was one of the river's most aggressive and destructive creatures. By combining them, Ammit became the ultimate consequence, a physical manifestation of the collective fear of moral failure. She made abstract spiritual law terrifyingly real. What does it mean when a civilization dreams up a being whose only role is divine punishment? It reveals a profound belief in a universe governed by moral accountability, where actions in life have inescapable repercussions in death. Ammit was the dark counterpart to benevolent hybrids, a necessary shadow in the mythology that underscored the immense value placed on a just and truthful existence. This ancient concept of a multi-headed threat to cosmic order finds a chilling parallel in the swamps of Greek legend, where another hybrid awaited heroes not with a single monstrous bite, but with an ever-multiplying challenge. The murky waters of Lerna hid a problem that refused to stay solved. Here lurked the Hydra, a serpent whose very form defied conventional battle. For every head severed, 2 more would writhe forth from the bloody stump, with one head boasting a chilling immunity to death itself. This was not a monster to be met with simple force, for brute strength alone was its fuel. Heracles, in his legendary second labor, quickly discovered that his mighty club was worse than useless. It was a catalyst for an ever-expanding threat. The Hydra was a living metaphor for the most stubborn crises, the kind that seem to multiply the harder you fight them. A rebellion quelled in one city sparks uprisings in 2 more. A single source of illness spreads through a community despite all efforts to contain it. These are hydra-headed problems where each attempted solution breeds new and more complex challenges. Its very presence poisoned the land, a creature of contamination whose breath and blood could taint the purest water or the sharpest blade. Heracles' eventual victory required a fundamental shift in strategy. He called upon his nephew Iolaus, who used a burning brand to cauterize each neck as Heracles severed a head, stopping the regeneration in its tracks. For the final, immortal head, he had to bury it deep beneath a heavy rock containing what he could not destroy. This was not a solo triumph, but a lesson in collaboration and ingenuity. Why does a regenerating monster resonate so deeply across centuries? Because it perfectly captures the exhausting, iterative nature of true adversity. Some struggles in life cannot be conquered in a single, glorious clash. They demand patience, cleverness, and the humility to accept help. The Hydra teaches that the most formidable obstacles require us to outthink them, not just outfight them. This journey through the treacherous swamps of heroic labor now leads us to a different kind of peril, one that lured not with snapping jaws, but with an irresistible melody from across the waves. The sea holds many dangers, but none so insidious as the song that drifted from a barren island shore. Here, the sirens waited, often envisioned as creatures with the heads of women and the bodies of birds. Their melody was not one of simple beauty, it was a promise. It offered sailors the one thing they could not resist, the secrets of the universe, ultimate knowledge and wisdom, all for the price of steering closer. This was the peril of forbidden knowledge given a voice, a temptation so profound it could make a man sail willingly onto the jagged rocks, trading his homeward journey for a moment of illusory enlightenment. Their hybrid form was a perfect vessel for this deception. The human face and voice created a bridge of familiarity and trust, while the avian body connected them to the boundless, untamed sky, a symbol of the very knowledge they claimed to possess. The call of the sirens was a psychological trap, a symbol of how our deepest desires for understanding can be twisted into the very instrument of our undoing. It was a warning that some truths, when pursued recklessly, lead not to enlightenment but to self-destruction, leaving one stranded far from their intended path. Odysseus, in his legendary voyage, understood that willpower alone would be useless against such an enchantment. His solution was a masterpiece of self-awareness and restraint. He ordered his crew to seal their ears with beeswax, protecting them from the lure, while he alone, desperate to hear the song, had himself bound tightly to the ship's mast. He could experience the temptation without having the power to succumb to it. This story became an enduring allegory for navigating life's most seductive distractions, highlighting that true strength often lies not in resisting the call in the moment, but in preparing for its power in advance. What does it say that a creature with a woman's head on a bird's body can so perfectly capture the internal conflict between curiosity and safety? It demonstrates that the most powerful hybrids were not always monsters of physical threat, but symbols of the battles we fight within ourselves. This theme of an internal reckoning, of a soul being measured against a divine standard, finds a powerful echo not in the treacherous sea, but in the silent judgment hall of the Egyptian afterlife. Within the sacred stillness of the tomb, the jackal-headed god offered not a threat, but a promise. Anubis, with the sleek body of a man and the sharp, attentive features of the desert canine, was the master of transitions. The Egyptians observed a simple, stark truth. Jackals were often seen prowling the edges of burial grounds. Where a lesser culture might have seen only an omen of desecration, the Egyptians saw an opportunity. They took this natural scavenger and, through a profound act of symbolic alchemy, transformed it into the ultimate guardian of the dead. Anubis did not represent death itself, but the meticulous, compassionate process of navigating it. He personally oversaw the 70-day ritual of mummification, ensuring the physical vessel was preserved for its eternal journey. His most critical role, however, came in the silent judgment hall, where he carefully placed the heart of the deceased upon the scales, opposite the feather of truth. His hybrid form was a perfect bridge, the jackal head connecting him to the raw, untamed power of the desert and the spirit world, while his human body anchored him in the ordered, ritualistic civilization of the living. This fusion meant he could navigate both realms, a trustworthy guide through the terrifying Juat, the underworld. So how did they reframe a creature of death into a revered protector? They did it by focusing on function over fear. The jackal's natural role as a creature of the threshold was reinterpreted, its presence sanitized and sanctified into a divine duty. Anubis took the unsettling reality of decay and wrapped it in the sacred, offering comfort through procedure and the assurance of a guided path. This cultural reframing, taking a frightening aspect of nature and giving it a positive, essential role, finds a powerful and twisted echo in the heart of another ancient labyrinth. Deep within a structure of stone so complex it defied memory, a creature of shame was hidden away. The Minotaur, a man with the head of a bull, was the living consequence of a king's hubris, a permanent reminder of a transgression against the gods. He was not born of nature, but of human failing, a monstrous symbol of what happens when raw, primal desire is allowed to run unchecked. His very existence was a paradox, a thinking being driven by an animal's hunger, confined not for what he had done, but for what he represented. The labyrinth that held him was a masterpiece of architectural dread, a physical manifestation of a tangled psyche or a corrupt political state. Its endless, identical corridors offered no landmarks, no hope, only the gnawing certainty of being lost, with a monstrous truth waiting at the very center. What does it mean that a culture's greatest monster was kept in a maze, rather than simply destroyed? It speaks to a profound need to contain the parts of ourselves we fear the most, to build elaborate walls of ritual and law around our own potential for chaos. The hero Theseus did not merely enter this maze to fight a beast, he entered to unravel a national shame. His legendary victory was not achieved through strength alone. The sword that slew the Minotaur was secondary to the cleverness of Ariadne's thread, a simple spool that became a lifeline of reason through an irrational space. This was a triumph of intellect over instinct, of guided purpose over blind fury. The myth asks us a timeless question: how do we navigate the labyrinth of our own darker impulses? The answer it offers is that we must first have the courage to enter, to acknowledge the beast within, and then use the threads of wisdom and guidance to find our way back out. This struggle between our noble aspirations and our primal inheritance takes on a different form entirely when we leave the confined darkness of the maze for the open sky, where another hybrid creature guarded not a monster, but the most precious of treasures. High in the sun-scorched mountains, far from the reach of ordinary men, the griffin stood watch. It was a being of absolute dominion, its lion's body radiating terrestrial might, while the keen eyes and vast wings of an eagle claimed sovereignty over the skies. This was no mere guardian of gold, it was the living embodiment of a perfect union, a creature that had mastered two worlds. Ancient storytellers spoke of its unwavering vigilance, protecting vast hordes not out of greed but as a sacred duty. Its very form was a declaration that true, untouchable power comes from the harmony of complementary strengths. The lion, as king of the land, brought courage and raw power. The eagle, as master of the heavens, brought far-seeing intelligence and a connection to the divine. Together, they created a sentinel that no trickery could deceive and no force could overcome. This majestic duality resonated so deeply that it was adopted into later medieval heraldry and Christian symbolism. Here, the griffin became an emblem of Christ himself, representing the perfect fusion of his human and divine natures, a creature of impeccable morality that fiercely opposed evil. Why did this specific combination of lion and eagle hold such universal appeal? It presented an ideal of rule that was both grounded and enlightened, powerful yet discerning. The griffin was the ultimate symbol of regal authority, suggesting that the most formidable leaders are those who command both the earth and the sky, the practical and the spiritual. This concept of a hybrid representing a perfect, balanced power stands in stark contrast to another Egyptian deity, whose animal form embodied not harmonious rule, but the chaotic and disruptive forces of the world. While the griffin represented an ideal of balanced power, the Egyptian god Set was a being of deliberate dissonance. His form was a puzzle carved from nightmares, a composite creature that defied all natural categories. With a curved snout unlike any known animal, square-tipped ears, a canine body, and a bizarre forked tail, Set was an original invention, a god designed to be fundamentally alien. This was not a fusion of recognizable parts to create harmony, but a jumble of features meant to embody the very essence of chaos, the untamable desert, and violent storms. He was the necessary antagonist to the order of Maat, the cosmic balance that held the world together. Yet his role was profoundly ambiguous, for this same god of disorder also stood guard on the solar bark of Ra each night, using his chaotic power to repel the serpent Apophis, a force of pure nothingness. How does a culture give form to something as abstract as chaos itself? The answer lies in creating a being that is, by its very design, unrecognizable. Set's form had to feel wrong, unsettling, and outside the natural world to perfectly mirror his function as the disruptive force that challenges all systems. This necessary chaos was what kept the universe dynamic, preventing it from stagnating into a perfect, lifeless order. His eventual transformation into a vilified god of evil was less about his nature changing and more about the political and religious landscapes of Egypt shifting, a need to frame foreign rulers and internal strife as purely malevolent forces. What does a hybrid that mirrors no real animal tell us? It reveals that when a concept is too vast and abstract for simple personification, a culture must invent a new language of form, a creature that is pure symbol. This concept of an inherently alien and ambiguous hybrid, one that defies easy categorization, finds a fascinating parallel in the misty highlands of Celtic lore with a creature known as the puka. A creature of shadow and mist, the puka defied every attempt at definition. In one moment it might appear as a magnificent black stallion with eyes like embers, in the next as a strange, goat-like beast with an unsettling intelligence. This was no fixed guardian like the Lamassu, but a being of pure potential, its very essence one of constant transformation. It roamed the liminal spaces, the twilight hours, and the lonely hills, serving as a living embodiment of the Celtic world's inherent mystery. The puka was a paradox, a single source from which both profound wisdom and chaotic mischief could flow. A traveler who crossed its path might find themselves led on a terrifying, disorienting ride only to be deposited safely at their doorstep with a crucial piece of knowledge they had been seeking. It played its tricks not out of malice, but as a reflection of nature's own unpredictable moods, where a sudden storm could destroy a crop or nourish the soil. Why would a culture envision a guide that is just as likely to mislead as to enlighten? The answer lies in a worldview that did not separate safety from danger or guidance from trial. Life itself was seen as a journey through a landscape of beautiful, untamed ambiguity, and the puka was its perfect, fluid symbol. Its refusal to hold a single form mirrors the Celtic understanding of fate, not as a fixed path, but as a series of ever-shifting possibilities. This acceptance of life's inherent duality stands in stark contrast to another divine hybrid, one who uses his composite form not to represent chaos, but to master it and remove obstacles from the human path. The elephant head of Lord Gainsha is not a mask of the divine, but its very face, In the rich tapestry of Hindu tradition, this beloved deity's unique form emerged from a poignant story of cosmic error and profound restoration. According to one central myth, the goddess Parvati created a young guardian from the earth to watch her door. When her husband, Lord Shiva, returned and was barred entry by this unfamiliar boy, a clash ensued, leading to a moment of tragic misunderstanding. The child's head was lost. To soothe Parvati's immense grief, Shiva promised to restore her son, instructing his followers to bring back the head of the first living being they encountered, which was a wise and noble elephant. This act of replacement was not a repair but a transcendent upgrade, transforming the boy into the elephant-headed god we know today. His large ears are not merely for hearing, but for deeply listening, absorbing the prayers and troubles of all who call upon him. His small, focused eyes speak to the power of concentrated intention, while his single, broken tusk is a permanent mark of sacrifice, broken off to serve as a pen for scribing the monumental epic, the Mahabharata, so that no knowledge would be lost. Every part of Ganesha is a symbolic lesson. The elephant head denotes immense wisdom, gentle strength, and unwavering loyalty, while his human body grounds him in our world, making his divine power feel approachable and accessible to every devotee. Why would a culture embrace a god whose form so openly defies conventional anatomy? Ganesha's widespread reverence points to a profound cultural value placed on intellect over brute force, on patient understanding over rash action. His very body is a map for navigating life's challenges, teaching that what appears to be an incongruity or a broken piece can be the very source of one's greatest strength and purpose. He is the remover of obstacles precisely because his own origin story is about overcoming the ultimate obstacle, a fateful mistake, and emerging from it with greater compassion and capability. This harmonious ideal of benevolent, intelligent power finds a far wilder and more elemental expression when we cross the ocean to the skies of Native American tradition, where a different hybrid creature commands the storm itself. Its wingspan was said to blot out the sun, a feathered leviathan whose very movements shaped the world below. The thunderbird, a being of immense power woven into the traditions of numerous Native American cultures, commanded the sky itself. With each beat of its colossal wings, it created the rolling boom of thunder. With every blink of its piercing eyes, it cast down bolts of lightning. This was no ordinary bird of prey. It was a hybrid spirit of the upper world, sometimes depicted with the horns of a great bison or the sharp teeth of a predator, features that amplified its divine authority and transformative nature. It served as a mighty protector for humanity, often seen as the celestial opponent of powerful, malevolent water serpents or horned serpents that dwelled in the depths. This mythic struggle between the sky being and the water serpent was a dramatic representation of the natural cycles that sustained life, the storm from the heavens clashing with the primal forces of the deep. How does a culture give form to the untamable power of a storm? They create a being vast enough to carry its weight and majestic enough to deserve their reverence. The thunderbird was not merely a cause of weather, it was the weather, a living embodiment of the life-giving rains that nourished the earth and the destructive gales that could reshape it. Its dual role as both benefactor and potential bringer of hardship made it a symbol of the ultimate balance, a force that commanded respect rather than fear. This desire to harness the fundamental powers of the cosmos, to understand and perhaps even command the elements, was not unique to the storytellers of the Americas. A similar yet profoundly different quest was unfolding across the ocean, where medieval alchemists pursued their own form of symbolic fusion, not in a creature but in a stone. Deep within the smoky laboratories of medieval alchemists, the ultimate hybrid was not a creature of flesh and bone, but a substance of pure concept. The philosopher's stone was a paradox given a name, a legendary material described as neither fully physical nor entirely spiritual. Its most famous promise was the transmutation of base metals like lead into perfect, incorruptible gold, a process that mirrored the alchemist's own quest for spiritual refinement. But its power did not end there. It was also believed to hold the secret to the elixir of life, offering vitality and perhaps even a form of immortality to the worthy. This was not a beast to be fought, but a goal to be achieved through a sacred fusion of disciplines. The entire alchemical process was itself a profound hybrid endeavor. It demanded the meticulous, soot-stained labor of the laboratory, with its furnaces and alembics, married to the most intense mystical and philosophical inquiry. An alchemist had to be both a chemist and a monk, a scientist and a poet. Why did this conceptual object captivate the greatest minds for centuries? Because the stone was far more than a physical recipe, it was a map of the soul. Its creation symbolized the perfect unification of all opposing forces, the male and female principles, the sun and the moon, the volatile spirit and the stable body. To create the stone was to achieve inner enlightenment, to transmute the base lead of one's own flawed nature into the spiritual gold of a perfected self. Its symbolic power lay in this promise of achieving the impossible, of unifying every disparate part of existence into a single state of ultimate purity and power. The philosopher's stone demonstrates that the human drive to create hybrids extends far beyond living forms, reaching into the very realm of ideas. It represents our eternal quest for a fundamental transformation, a deep yearning to find unity in a world of opposites. This artistic impulse to blend and harmonize different elements can be seen much earlier, in the vibrant and unexpected creations of a civilization known for its labyrinthine palaces. On the sun-drenched island of Crete, the Minoans painted a world alive with fluid motion and sacred ceremony. Among the dancers and dolphins adorning their palace walls, one figure stands out as distinctly their own, the being scholars call the genius. This was no borrowed monster from foreign lands, but a homegrown spirit, a creature of pure Minoan imagination. With the powerful, low-slung body of a lion or sometimes a donkey, it stood upright on its hind legs, its long, curved snout sniffing at the air as if sensing a presence just beyond our sight. Its posture was not one of aggression, but of attentive service, forever captured in the act of participating in elaborate rituals. We see them carefully carrying elegant vessels, likely filled with precious oils or offerings, acting as intermediary attendants in ceremonies that connected the human community with the divine realm. This was a hybrid designed for a specific, sacred function within a society that seemed to view the natural and supernatural as intimately intertwined. Without a single deciphered word from their linear script, we are left to read the silent language of their art. What does the form of the genius whisper to us across the millennia? Its unique combination of features suggests a being that embodied both terrestrial strength and a peculiar, almost shamanic, access to other worlds. The animal power in its limbs was harnessed for a purpose: to serve, to carry, and to facilitate communication with the gods. This was not a symbol of royal authority like the Sphinx, nor a terrifying force of chaos like the Chimera. The genius feels more like a vital part of the spiritual ecosystem, a trusted worker in the cosmic order. Its very strangeness is a testament to the originality of the Minoan mind, a culture that developed its own symbolic vocabulary to describe the unseen forces governing their world. The mystery of the genius is a powerful reminder that not all ancient puzzles come with a key. Some hybrids are questions posed in form and pigment, their true names and purposes lost to time, inviting us to listen more closely to their silent, enduring song. Stone carvings of a plumed serpent cascade down the pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza, a river of stone scales and feathers frozen in descent. This was the feathered serpent, a deity whose very form was a prayer for balance. The serpent, a creature of the earth, represented the tangible world, the soil, and the cycles of life and death. The vibrant, iridescent feathers of the Quetzal bird, however, reached for the heavens, embodying the spirit, the wind, and the ethereal realm. This was not a god of simple duality, but of synthesis, a being that proved the earth and sky were not separate kingdoms but intertwined layers of a single, sacred reality. As Quetzalcoatl, he was revered as a civilizing force, a bringer of knowledge who gifted humanity with the calendar, the art of writing, and the cultivation of maize. He stood as a voice for a more enlightened path, a deity who, in many traditions, rejected the brutality of human sacrifice in favor of offerings of jade and flowers. His story was one of creation but also of loss and a promised return. A cyclical myth told of his departure across the Eastern Sea, with a prophecy that he would one day come back to reclaim his rightful place. This belief in a returning, benevolent king became a cornerstone of hope, a narrative so powerful it would later shape the very moment of first contact with European arrivals. How does a single hybrid symbol come to hold the soul of an empire? The feathered serpent answers this by showing that the most enduring symbols reconcile our deepest contradictions, binding the earth to the sky, violence to compassion, and a storied past to an anticipated future. This profound need to merge opposing forces into a single, powerful identity finds a far more chaotic and conflicted expression in the wild hills of Greece with the birth of the centaurs. Their dual nature was a constant, visible war. Roaming the wilds of Thessaly, the centaurs presented a jarring spectacle, a human torso grafted onto the powerful body of a horse. This was not a seamless fusion like the griffin, but a forced union that forever teetered on the brink of collapse. Their very anatomy was the Greeks' brilliant metaphor for the human condition, a perpetual conflict between the higher self, housed in the human head and chest, and the powerful, often unruly, animal instincts of the body. The race was infamous for its lack of restraint, most notoriously at the wedding of King Pirithous, where, inflamed by wine, they attempted to abduct the bride and other female guests, transforming a civilized celebration into a scene of primal chaos. This was the ultimate Greek fear made flesh, the moment when reason is drowned out by base desire. Yet the myth holds a crucial exception that deepens its meaning, the noble Chiron. Unlike his kin, Chiron was a being of profound wisdom and compassion, a mentor to heroes like Achilles and Asclepius. His existence proved that the struggle was not destined for failure. Chiron represented the ideal, the successful integration and mastery of the powerful physical self by a cultivated intellect. So what does this persistent tension within a single body reveal? It tells us that the Greeks saw human nature not as a fixed state, but as a continuous, arduous choice. Every individual, like the centaur, must daily navigate the pull between their civilized aspirations and their primal inheritance. This theme of an internal battle finds a far more explosive and divine resolution in another hybrid myth, that of the Hindu Narasimha. The demon king's hubris had built a fortress of absolute rules. Hiranyakashipu believed he was invincible, protected by a boon that no man or beast could kill him, neither indoors nor outdoors, not by day or by night. He had twisted cosmic law into a cage of perfect safety for himself, leaving his subjects, including his own devout son, powerless before his tyranny. The universe itself seemed cornered by this legalistic trap, until a threshold at twilight became the stage for a divine paradox. It was there that Lord Vishnu manifested as Narasimha, emerging from a pillar with a lion's head roaring atop a human torso, his claws already extended. He was neither fully man nor purely beast. He stood on a threshold that was neither inside nor outside, and he acted at the precise moment of dusk, which was neither day nor night. The demon was not slain with a manufactured weapon, but torn apart by divine claws, a force of nature that was neither a tool nor a simple human act. This was not a violation of cosmic law, but its ultimate fulfillment, a creative act of justice that operated on a logic higher than any demonic loophole. Why does this fearsome, partially animal form serve as the perfect instrument of divine justice? Because the problem itself was a perversion of categories, and the solution had to come from beyond them all. Narasimha's hybridity was a strategic masterpiece, a manifestation of a power that transcends every binary we use to make sense of the world. His terrifying appearance was not a sign of rage, but of a profound and precise righteousness, a necessary force to dismantle an arrogance that thought itself untouchable. This divine ingenuity, using paradoxical form to solve an impossible challenge, finds a powerful echo in the windswept legends of the Slavic world. Its multiple heads spoke not in unison, but with a chorus of distinct voices, each offering a different piece of ancient wisdom or a separate, potent spell. The Slavic Zeme was a creature of profound contradiction, a dragon that could be as much a guardian of the land as a captor of its people. It soared through the skies as a master of storms, commanding the rains that nourished crops or brought devastating floods, a direct embodiment of nature's fickle generosity. This was not a beast of pure evil, but a powerful, ambiguous spirit whose will could shape the fate of entire villages. The most fascinating blurring of lines occurred in the tales where the Zeme, often through magic, would shed its scaled form to become a compelling, human-like suitor. These stories wove complex narratives of romance and abduction, where a maiden taken to the dragon's celestial palace might not always be a helpless victim, but sometimes a partner in a relationship that defied simple human morality. How does a dragon transform from a mere monster into a multifaceted character of myth? The Zeme answers this by reflecting a worldview where power was not inherently good or evil, but a neutral force that could be channeled toward protection, creation, or destruction depending on the circumstance. Its multiple heads were not just a symbol of greater physical threat, but of heightened awareness and vigilance, a being that could see in all directions and comprehend multiple truths at once. Consequently, defeating a Zeme was never a simple test of strength. A hero could not merely overpower it, they had to outthink it, often discovering a hidden vulnerability or fulfilling a seemingly impossible riddle to break its magic. This narrative preference for cleverness over pure force reveals a cultural appreciation for wisdom and strategy, valuing the intellect that could untangle a complex problem over the sword that could only meet it with blunt impact. The Zeme's rich and contradictory nature shows that hybrids could occupy a vast spectrum of roles, from antagonist to ambiguous ally, mirroring a nuanced understanding that the world's most powerful forces are rarely one-dimensional. This very same nuance, this embrace of a creature that exists in a gray area between menace and benevolence, finds a striking parallel in the rivers and lakes of Japan with the enigmatic kappa. The kappa's domain was the deceptively calm surface of a river, where the water could both sustain life and conceal a sudden, treacherous pull. This child-sized being blended features of a turtle, a monkey, and a bird into a form perfectly adapted to its aquatic world, a shell for protection, webbed hands for swimming, and a beak that could snap with surprising force. Yet its most defining feature was the small, dish-like cavity atop its head, which always held a measure of water from its home river. This water was the literal source of its life force and power when it ventured onto land, a detail that transformed the kappa from a simple monster into a being bound by a delicate, natural balance. Its behavior was a perfect reflection of this duality. A kappa might help a village by sharing knowledge of bone setting or challenging a farmer to a sumo match out of pure, playful mischief. Yet that same creature could also be a deadly predator, luring the unwary into deep water with a chilling, almost logical indifference. What makes the Kappa so fascinating is not its capacity for good or evil, but the strict social code that governed its interactions. It was a creature obsessed with politeness and formal ritual, compelled to return a deep bow when offered one. This deeply ingrained etiquette was also its greatest weakness, for in returning a deep enough bow, the water would spill from its head saucer, leaving it weakened and vulnerable. This was more than a simple trick for defeating a monster. It was a profound cultural lesson. The Kappa taught that even the most unpredictable and dangerous forces of nature could be navigated through respect, cleverness, and an understanding of their inherent rules. It presented a world where the unknown was not to be met with brute force, but with ritual and intelligence. This concept of a chaotic, elemental power that is nonetheless bound by a form of order finds a terrifying and far grander echo in the birth of the most monstrous hybrid of Greek myth, the storm-born Typhon. The very earth trembled at his approach, a mountain range given sentience and malice. Typhon was the ultimate hybrid, a cataclysm given form, whose 100 serpent heads blotted out the sky, each one capable of mimicking the voice of a loved one or a trusted god to lure the unwary. His legs were endless coils of hissing vipers, a bottom half in constant, chaotic motion. This was not a monster to be understood, but a force to be survived, the personification of the primordial chaos that existed before the gods brought order to the universe. In his final, cataclysmic battle with Zeus, Typhon represented the most dire threat imaginable, a challenge to the very concept of a structured world governed by law and divine authority. His terrifying presence answers a profound question. Why would a civilization invent a single source for all its monsters? By making Typhon the father of creatures like the Hydra, the Chimera, and Cerberus, Greek mythology provided a cosmic origin for the endless challenges that heroes must face. Every monstrous hybrid a hero later encountered was, in essence, a fragment of this original, world-shattering chaos, a piece of the primordial disorder that continued to test the boundaries of the civilized order. His eventual defeat was not a clean victory. Zeus trapped him beneath Mount Etna, where his restless fury and scorching breath became the explanation for the volcano's fiery eruptions. This was a brilliant narrative stroke, transforming a terrifying natural phenomenon into the enduring rage of a conquered foe. What does this tell us about the human relationship with chaos? Typhon's story suggests that our foundational myths often require a definitive victory over a formless, overwhelming disorder. A victory that makes the world safe for stories of smaller, more manageable struggles to even begin. This global theme of a foundational struggle against a primordial force is not unique to the misty peaks of Greece, but finds a powerful and resonant parallel in the ancient sands of Egypt, where another chaos monster threatened to unravel all of creation. These creatures, born worlds apart, speak a silent, shared language. A lion with a human head guards the Egyptian desert. A chimera of deer and dragon brings omens of peace in China, and a colossal bird commands the storms over the American plains. Though their forms are wildly different, their purpose is universally human. They emerge precisely where our understanding meets its limits, at the blurred borders between the world we can control and the forces that control us. Where the solid ground of human order gives way to the chaotic wilderness, or where our mortal intellect brushes against the vast, unknowable instinct of the animal kingdom, we build a hybrid to stand watch. These beings were our first tools for thinking about the unthinkable. How do you explain the abstract concept of divine kingship? You sculpt a sphinx, fusing the might of a lion with the wisdom of a human face. How do you give form to the terrifying finality of judgment? You create Ammit, assembling the Nile's most feared predators into a single divine executioner. They made the intangible tangible, transforming fears about death, hopes for rain, and ideals of justice into stories you could see, remember, and pass down. This was not a coordinated effort, but a parallel awakening of the human imagination. It reveals a deep cognitive blueprint, a fundamental way that our species grapples with complexity. We are pattern-seeking creatures, and when faced with the formless, we instinctively give it a face, a body, and a name. This ancient need to synthesize, to blend disparate ideas into a cohesive whole, is a legacy that did not fade with the pyramids or the oracle bones. It simply found new vessels, from the comic book heroes who are both man and mutant to the digital avatars that allow us to project our identity into virtual realms. The language of the hybrid is humanity's first and most enduring grammar for the mysteries we all share. The same symbolic DNA that built the Sphinx and the Chimera now animates our most beloved modern myths. A dragon's shadow falls across the kingdoms of Westeros, a patronus stag charges forth to defend a soul, and a hero swings through a city with the powers of both a spider and a man. These are not new inventions, but ancient blueprints redrawn for a contemporary audience. They continue to wrestle with the timeless questions of duality, asking what happens when immense power is paired with human frailty, or when the line between a protector and a monster becomes dangerously thin. Our blockbuster films and best-selling novels are the new campfires around which we gather to hear these old stories, proving that the archetypes crafted in stone and scrolls still pulse with life. They provide a powerful symbolic language for navigating modern anxieties, from the environmental consequences of unchecked power symbolized by towering kaiju to the ethical labyrinths of genetic engineering explored in science fiction. These narratives allow us to confront colossal issues on a human scale, giving abstract fears a shape we can understand and, in story at least, overcome. Our continued fascination is a testament to their enduring power. The ancient hybrids were never just about the creatures themselves, but about the parts of ourselves they helped us to name. They remain the key to unlocking our oldest stories, our deepest fears, and our most soaring aspirations, reminding us that the most enduring monsters and heroes are those that live within us all. This journey through the ancient world's most puzzling hybrid creatures reveals a stunning tapestry of human imagination, where every lion, eagle, and man-bull was a profound statement about power, morality, and our place in the cosmos. These beings were not random fantasies. They were carefully crafted symbols, a language of form and meaning that helped entire civilizations navigate the deepest mysteries of life, death, and the natural world. From the protective Lamassu to the chaotic Typhon, they taught essential lessons, enforced social orders, and gave a recognizable face to forces that were otherwise too vast or abstract to comprehend. They made the intangible tangible. The enduring legacy of these symbols in our modern books, films, and art proves that this language of the hybrid is a universal and timeless one. It is a fundamental way we process our reality. As you close this chapter, consider what hybrid creature you might create to represent the unique challenges and soaring ideals of our own time. What form would it take, and what story would it tell about us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this exploration into the enduring power of myth resonated with you, subscribe for more journeys into the mysteries of our shared